they do matam and they beat their chest. People say they do it senselessly. So I said, tell me about it. And I found myself being mesmerized hearing this story. And I remember when I heard the story of what happened on Ashura, I just cried and I cried and I cried and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So, I mean, I think that started. So it was, I guess, over a period of 3 or 4 years, because my parents are very staunch Christians, and they knew for some time. I think they could see it coming because I had a lot of Muslim friends, and I was always hanging around with Muslims, and I sort of had, I think, a Muslim inclination. I think in their hearts they knew it, but it was really hard because, I mean, you raise your child to be something and then they go and do that. I mean, I think they were a little hurt, but then they realized that I was at peace. I had that inner peace that I was looking for, and I was very happy. I think my parents just wanted me to be okay. Being their only child, they wanted me to be happy and they wanted me to be safe. And then my dad, he had the hardest time taking it. But after some time, he realized, he said, I've never seen you so happy and so secure with your life. So if this is your choice, then go ahead, we will accept it. And they did. And once I became a Muslim, they were very respectful of my decision. And even when they moved back to India, so I would go and visit them. Of course, that was after I was married. You don't have halal food sometimes in India, but my dad would make sure everything was halal for me. So I could see that, and he was so happy to see that I'm happy. And he's like, you believe in God, and you have found that God is important? I'm very happy. So alhamdulillah. I guess just the fact that you change your religion, I mean, I would shudder to think if my child came and told me, everything that you've taught me, I've gone against. But I would say that it took them some time, but Islam and Christianity are very similar in a lot of ways. And I think because we lived in a Muslim country, it was easier for them because they saw everything that was going on. And the Muslims we knew were wonderful people. So I think that was good for them. I wasn't actually influenced by the media because in Dubai, the media is censored. So you only see Islam in a good light. So no, I wasn't. The hardest thing for me was Jesus not dying on the cross, Nabi Isa not dying on the cross. Because when I grew up, for us, it was all about how Jesus sacrificed his life on the cross. So for me to believe that Jesus wasn't crucified on the cross was hard for me, because I grew up with a cross always in front of me and believing that Jesus suffered and died on the cross. So for me, that was the hardest thing to believe. But once I became a Muslim and time passed, I did realize that it was a good thing for him not to have been crucified on the cross. That was very hard for me. Alhamdulillah, my first year as a Muslim was, I think, one of the best ones of my life. It was a learning curve, and I learned a lot. I also went through a lot of things, but I think that year made me very strong. I had a lot of support from people when I became a Muslim, not only from Shias, but Sunnis as well. Everybody would come and help me. If I needed to go to the mosque, people would come. They would take me to majalis, and they would come and, they offer to teach me things, namaz and things like that, and I owe them a lot. So I had a lot of help. The Ahlul Bayt are, to me, I think they're just perfect. I had never heard such a story about the Ahlul Bayt before. And, the way they suffered for God, for Allah, and the things that they did. And you can identify with them. They have taught us so many things that you don't need to look anywhere else. You don't need any other role models. All you have to do is just follow them. So when I heard their story, for me, I think it just struck a chord with me. Hearing about them, what they did, how they believed in Allah, and how much they suffered for Allah, that was very important for me. That's why I chose the name Khadija. Because when I heard about her, I thought I identified myself with her, because she went through a lot of troubles, and Bibi Khadija, she sacrificed everything. For me, that was the same thing, because I sacrificed everything to become a Muslim as well. So Bibi Khadija was probably the one personality that influenced me. Alhamdulillah, I have been for Umrah, and I've been to Sham as well. So yes, I've had the opportunity to visit the Ahlul Bayt. My experience with visiting the Ahlul Bayt, I think, was the most beautiful experience of my life. My first ziyarat was going to Bibi Zainab in Sham, and I remember just walking towards our haram, and I was recalling all the stories about her and how she suffered, and I just couldn't move. When I went there and I touched her dhari, something just started flowing in me, and I just started crying, and it was such an honor to be there. And even when we went for Umrah to go to Masjid al-Nabawi, sitting there, I think is the most peaceful place on earth. When we were coming, we were approaching in the cab, I could see the green dome. And it was my husband's first Umrah as well. And both of us were just sitting there, and we were just looking at that green dome and thinking, mashallah, how blessed we are. And I hope, inshallah, I get to go again. But my one dream is to go and visit Imam Hussein. Inshallah, hopefully I will get the chance to. My first Muharram was, I think, the biggest life-changing experience for me, because I was very nervous. I mean, I've heard of things what go on there, and I didn't know how I would take it. And it was difficult because I was working at the time, and going to the mosque for 10 days was pretty hard. But when I went there, I didn't know what to expect. I was new still in the mosque, and I hardly knew anybody. So I was, feeling shy. But when I sat down and when I went inside the mosque, I was just overwhelmed with grief, because you can see everybody, they have that love for Imam Hussein inside them, and it resonates on their face, their actions. And when I heard the majlis and I was hearing the stories, that was my first time as a Muslim, so that, I think, it gets you even more. And I wait for the next Muharram to come, because it's so beautiful. And I always think that people who don't know Imam Hussein, they need to learn about him, because he's so amazing, and it's just wonderful to be a lover of the Ahlul Bayt. For me, the lessons of Karbala, I think all of them have inspired me, but for me, the first one is to have faith in Allah. If you look at what happened to them, they accepted it, and they had the faith to say, okay, Allah has decided this for me, and Allah is going to do what is best for me. So I think that was one of the most important things, to have faith and to trust Allah, because He's the only one around. And I mean, if you can see people like Yazid, they had absolutely no belief in Allah. And for me, if you can't see that Allah is around you and Allah has created everything, and the fact that you do something against the Prophet and his family, I think that was the first thing that you should realize, that Allah is there and He's important. And for me, I think the lesson of family, because for me, my family is very important. And if you see how all of Imam Hussein's family rallied around him, even his nephews, his young daughter, his infant son, that's very important as well. I think you're doing an excellent job of spreading the message of the Ahlul Bayt. I mean, I think Ahlul Bayt TV's been around for about 3 or 4 years and 5 years. And the fact that now, mashallah, you're all over the world and you're broadcasting everywhere, I think that's beautiful. And I wish I can do more to help you in any way. People who are born Muslims are definitely trying to spread the message of the Ahlul Bayt all over the world, especially in the West. And I mean, it's hard to do that as well. I mean, the fact that people actually see women and going outside in their hijab, and I mean, having mosques everywhere where everybody's welcome, I think you guys are doing a great job. I do have some advice for people who are considering becoming a Muslim. You should always follow your heart, because your heart will always tell you, and it will always lead you to the right path. And if you're thinking of becoming a Muslim, that means Allah is calling you, because I'm speaking from a first-hand experience. I think I probably didn't understand what was happening to me over my life, but I realized it later that Allah does call you. And when He does call you, you're probably one of the select few who is being guided to the right path. So yes, you should answer the call. I know it's hard, but I mean, Allah will help you. And if He's shown you the right way, you should take it. It's been a great honor, actually, to be on Ahlul Bayt and to tell my story. And inshallah, I hope I inspire other people to do so as well.